not something I'd recommend, frankly. Yeah. I don't know what else to say, but it is. I'm just looking at this video and it's so bizarre.
Wait a second, like, come on, man, this is.
What if everything we were told about Charlie Kirk's death was only half the story? What if the truth was never meant to come out? Because in the past few weeks, two names you'd never expect to touch this story, Joe Rogan and Elon Musk, just did. And the internet hasn't stopped spinning since. It started with a single podcast clip. Rogan looked uneasy, almost hesitant, before saying he'd been following the Kirk case for a while and that something doesn't add up. Within hours, Elon Musk replied online with just 6 words: "The truth doesn't hide forever." That one line detonated the conversation. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know, what did they mean? Were they hinting at something bigger? See, the official version of Kirk's death sounds straightforward. A lone gunman, caught within hours, case closed. But for those paying attention, the details never sat right. The weapon, the timing, the silence that followed, it all felt rehearsed. And now, Rogan and Musk are hinting that what looked random might have been anything but. Their comments have reignited a storm of theories that point in one direction, towards someone very close to Kirk himself. Because if the whispers online are true, his widow's role in all this might not be as innocent as it seems. And that's where this story really begins. Because the moment people started asking questions, everything got stranger. The day Charlie Kirk was killed, nothing about it felt real. One moment he was walking on stage at Utah Valley University, smiling, waving, doing what he always did, stirring up the crowd, and minutes later, chaos. Shots. Screams. A rifle found nearby. Within hours, police said they had their suspect, a 22-year-old kid named Tyler Robinson. Case closed. But that's the thing. Nothing about it felt closed. Witnesses described strange details that didn't fit the timeline. The first image of the weapon showed markings no one could explain, weird slogans scratched into the casing, almost like someone wanted them to be found. And before investigators could even hold a press conference, fake clips and AI-edited footage of the scene started flooding the internet. Then came the moment everyone noticed, the eerie calm that followed. No leaks, no press updates, no clear motive. For a story that big, the silence was deafening. Online, people started asking how a public figure that visible could be killed so cleanly, so quickly, and leave behind almost no trail. And that's when a few quiet voices began to whisper the same thing. Maybe it wasn't random at all. Because behind the official reports and statements, there was already something moving, a digital storm about to break wide open. When the smoke cleared, the story looked neat, too neat. A shooter caught, a motive under investigation, and a case file sealed faster than anyone expected. But the deeper people looked, the stranger it got. The rifle found at the scene wasn't a basic model. It had a custom scope, upgraded stock, and hand-carved initials that didn't match the suspects. Witnesses said they saw someone else minutes before the shots, an older man yelling, "I did it," before stripping off his jacket and disappearing into the crowd. That clip vanished from social media within hours. Even the timeline made no sense. Reports claimed the suspect acted alone, yet emergency calls described 2 voices. Then, days later, the same man caught on camera was suddenly arrested for an unrelated crime. Child exploitation charges dropped out of nowhere, no follow-up, no interviews. It felt like someone was cleaning the board, erasing the wrong details before anyone could ask questions. And that's when the theory started spreading, the idea that this wasn't chaos at all. It was choreography. Out of nowhere, Joe Rogan brought the whole thing back to life. During a late-night episode, he paused mid-conversation and said he'd been looking into the Kirk case. No setup, no warning, just dropped it like a grenade. He mentioned strange photos, missing timestamps, and a feeling that something doesn't line up. You could hear the shift in his voice. It wasn't entertainment anymore, it was curiosity turning into suspicion. Within minutes, clips of that moment hit every platform, and one of them got the attention of someone even bigger, Elon Musk. Hours later, Musk replied on X with just one cryptic sentence: The truth doesn't hide forever. That was it. No emoji, no follow-up. But coming from Musk, that line was gasoline on dry leaves. Threads lit up, hashtags exploded, and suddenly both men, who never even mentioned each other in this context, were being accused of knowing something the public didn't. Some said Rogan was the insider, Musk the amplifier. Others thought it was calculated, a signal to look closer. Either way, the message landed, and for the first time, all eyes turned toward the one person no one expected to question, Charlie Kirk's widow. While everyone argued online about Rogan and Musk, Erica Kirk quietly stepped into the spotlight. Days after her husband's death, she was already giving statements, leading tributes, and appearing at events he'd been scheduled to headline. It looked composed, almost too composed. Then came the photos, her standing beside political figures, smiling, shaking hands, promising to continue his mission. To some, it was strength. To others, it was strategy. The timing felt strange, like someone had a plan ready before the tragedy even unfolded. That's when the whispers began. People noticed how quickly she gained control of his foundation, how key documents and passwords allegedly shifted under her name within 48 hours. Screenshots started floating around of her private group chats, none verified, all conveniently leaked. Some said she was protecting his legacy, others believed she was rewriting it. And when reporters tried to reach her for comment, she went silent. No interviews, no clarifications, just controlled, polished statements through official accounts. And that silence became its own message, because if Erica Kirk knew more than she was saying, the next revelation would change everything. Then came the leak that blew everything wide open. A screenshot started circulating, supposedly a page from Charlie Kirk's personal journal, dated just days before his death. In it, he wrote, "I don't know who I can trust anymore." Nobody could prove it was real, but that didn't matter. The internet treated it like gospel. Within hours, threads linked the message to his wife. Some claimed Charlie had confided in friends that he felt watched, that someone close was keeping tabs on his schedule. Others said a family friend warned him to lay low after a private argument that week. None of it verified, all of it irresistible. Candace Owens jumped in next, hinting during a live stream that she'd seen the notes herself but wasn't ready to release them. "Patience," she said. "The truth always finds a way out." That single line sent the story nuclear. Suddenly, every rumor connected. The journal, the timeline, Erica's silence, Rogan's comments, Musk's cryptic posts. To the internet, it wasn't coincidence anymore. It was a pattern. But patterns can deceive, and when truth and speculation blur, the line between revelation and obsession disappears fast. For every person convinced there's a hidden plot, there's another calling it noise. Journalists digging through police reports say there's zero proof of a second shooter, no verified journal, and no evidence Erica Kirk had anything to do with the attack. They point out how easy it is for AI to fake handwriting, how screenshots appear out of thin air, and how outrage has turned into a business. Yet, the more the experts push back, the harder the public digs in. Every denial feels like confirmation. Every fact check gets labeled a cover-up. It's a loop no one can escape. Even Rogan backed off slightly, saying he just noticed odd details. Musk never explained his post. Candace went quiet again. But silence can echo louder than statements, and that's exactly what kept the story alive. Every missing piece, every unanswered question, became part of the myth. Maybe it's paranoia. Maybe it's truth hiding in plain sight. Either way, the investigation feels stuck between what's proven and what people want to believe. And that leaves one question hanging in the air: what if the most unbelievable version ends up being the real one? Just when things started to cool down, a new twist hit the timeline. Late one night, users noticed that several of Charlie Kirk's old encrypted messages had mysteriously reappeared on cloud backups tied to his foundation. No one knows how, they weren't public, and the account had been inactive since his death. But here's the part that set everyone off. The recovery logs showed an access request coming from an internal IP linked to Erica's media office. Within hours, the screenshots went viral, and people started asking if someone inside the organization was reopening files that were supposed to stay sealed. The widow's team called it a routine restoration, But that explanation only made things worse. Then Elon Musk liked a post that said, "Nothing digital ever stays buried." Minutes later, Rogan uploaded a short clip about information that resurfaces when you least expect it. Coincidence? Maybe, but the timing was too sharp to ignore. It felt like everyone was saying something without saying anything at all. And as fast as it blew up, it went quiet again. No follow-up, no clarification, just digital static. The story seemed to fold in on itself, leaving people staring at a mystery that refused to die. Because when silence becomes the loudest noise, that's usually when the real story begins. At this point, no one knows what's real and what's noise. Maybe Charlie Kirk's death was exactly what the reports say, a senseless act by a lone gunman. Or maybe it was something far deeper, something no one's brave enough to confirm. What we do know is that every time the story starts to fade, someone, Rogan, Musk, or even Candace, drops one more spark that drags it back into the light. It's almost like the truth is fighting to surface, one cryptic post at a time. And that's what makes this story so dangerous and so addictive. The facts, the rumors, the silence, they all feed into each other until no one can tell where the line is anymore. Whether it's a cover-up, a coincidence, or a distraction, one thing's for sure: someone wants this story to stay messy.